ExamPrep.School. Wyoming Property and Casualty Insurance Adjuster Exam. Exam code 12-WY-17, or OP-WY-17. There are 4 practice exams in this series. This video covers Practice Exam 1. The first 20 questions are free. In this video, we will be covering the following major categories for Practice Exam 1. Adjuster-specific duties and claim handling. General PC product knowledge. Policy provisions and contract law. Property and casualty, insurance terms and concepts. WY laws and rules pertinent to adjusters. WY statutes common to all lines. WY statutes for casualty only. WY statutes for property and casualty only. Let's walk through the format. I'll read each question and its choices. Let's get started. Question 1. Which of the following best defines actual cash value in property insurance valuation? A. Replacement cost minus depreciation, adjusted for physical wear and market conditions. B. Replacement cost minus depreciation, excluding consideration of functional obsolescence. C. Market value at time of loss, excluding salvage proceeds. D. Replacement cost less salvage value and demolition costs. A countdown circle appears in the top right. Once it completes, the answer is revealed. You can pause at any time if you'd like longer to think. If you'd like additional practice covering more topics, see the description for our book. The correct answer is A. The correct answer defines actual cash value as replacement cost at current levels minus depreciation for age, wear, and market influences. Reason B is not correct. This option wrongly excludes functional obsolescence, which is considered when calculating depreciation for actual cash value. Reason C is not correct. This describes market value rather than actual cash value, which is based on replacement cost less depreciation. Reason D is not correct. Demolition costs are not part of the standard depreciation calculation for actual cash value. Question 2. Which sequence correctly describes the standard steps for determining replacement cost in property valuation? A. Assess replacement cost per unit. Quantify structure dimensions. Multiply unit cost by dimensions. Incorporate entrepreneurial profit and building code upgrades. Exclude depreciation. B. Measure structure dimensions. Calculate per unit cost. Multiply cost per unit by dimensions. Adjust for inflation. Apply coinsurance clause. C. Determine square footage. Multiply by historical cost. Subtract depreciation. Include debris removal allowance. D. Calculate cost per unit. Multiply by quantity. Apply functional obsolescence deduction. Add overhead charges. The correct answer is A. Replacement cost is determined by identifying unit cost, measuring the structure, multiplying unit cost by dimensions, and then adding allowances for profit and code upgrades while excluding depreciation. Reason B is not correct. Coinsurance adjustments pertain to loss settlement, not the calculation of replacement cost. Reason C is not correct. Using historical cost and subtracting depreciation contradicts the purpose of replacement cost valuation, which estimates current new construction cost. Reason D is not correct. Functional obsolescence deductions are used in actual cash value, not in pure replacement cost calculations. Question 3. Which criterion is essential when applying functional replacement cost valuation? A. Restores structural integrity and function with cost savings while maintaining equivalent performance of the original property. B. Replicates original design and materials regardless of new construction cost differences. C. Uses the most costly materials compatible with original specifications to avoid functional variance. D. Separately appraises land and improvements at market value to determine replacement allowance. The correct answer is A. Functional replacement cost focuses on restoring utility and performance at lower cost by using functionally equivalent materials without replicating exact original specifications. Reason B is not correct. This describes exact replacement cost, not the alternative materials approach central to functional replacement cost. Reason C is not correct. Functional replacement cost selects cost-effective materials, not the most expensive options. Reason D is not correct. Market value appraisal is unrelated to the methodology for functional replacement cost. Question 4. An insured collector holds several 19th century porcelain figurines whose auction prices vary significantly. As an adjuster recommending a market value policy, which describes the most accurate basis for indemnity when a loss occurs under such coverage? A. Payment of replacement cost less depreciation for age and condition. B. Reimbursement of a predetermined stated sum regardless of current auction values. C. Indemnification based on sale prices of comparable items at the time of loss. D. Refund of the original purchase price adjusted for general inflation. The correct answer is C. The correct answer is based on the definition of market value, which uses recent comparable sales to determine indemnity rather than predetermined or depreciated figures. Reason A is not correct. This describes actual cash value, which subtracts depreciation rather than reflecting exchange value. Reason B is not correct. This describes a stated sum approach rather than determining value by current market comparables. Reason D is not correct. Adjusting the original purchase price for inflation does not reflect current auction demand and supply. Question 5. An insured obtains an agreed value endorsement on a classic 1957 Thunderbird, fixing its insurance value at $80,000. After a covered total loss, which best describes how the insurer determines settlement under that endorsement? A. Insurer reimburses replacement cost for a comparable model at current prices. B. Insurer calculates actual cash value by adjusting for depreciation. C. Insurer pays the preset $80,000 without applying depreciation. D. Insurer pays replacement cost minus salvage value. The correct answer is C. The correct answer reflects that agreed value endorsement eliminates depreciation and guarantees payment of the mutually agreed figure upon total loss. Reason A is not correct. Replacement cost coverage differs from an agreed value which is set before a loss. Reason B is not correct. That describes actual cash value coverage, not an agreed value endorsement. Reason D is not correct. Salvage deductions apply under other coverages, not under an agreed value endorsement. Question 6. A building owner elects a stated amount policy for inventory valued at $200,000. After a partial fire loss, the actual cash value of the damaged inventory is determined to be $180,000. Under the stated amount policy, how much will the insurer pay for the loss? A. $200,000, because stated amount is paid regardless of actual cash value. B. $180,000 as payment equals the lesser of the actual cash value or stated amount. C. $180,000 as payment equals actual cash value without reference to stated amount. D. $200,000 minus depreciation if the loss is partial. The correct answer is B. The correct answer applies the stated amount policy rule that indemnity is the lesser of ACV at loss, or the stated amount agreed upon before the loss. Reason A is not correct. Stated amount policies do not guarantee the full stated sum if actual cash value is lower. Reason C is not correct. While ACV is used, the stated amount policy still caps payment at the stated sum, so referencing only ACV omits that cap. Reason D is not correct. Depreciation adjustments are not applied to the stated amount in partial loss situations. Question 7. Under standard property insurance law, an insured's insurable interest must exist at which of the following times to allow recovery for a loss? A. At the time the policy is issued. B. When the claim is filed. C. At both policy inception and loss. D. At the time of loss. The correct answer is D. The principle of insurable interest in property insurance requires that the insured possess an economic interest in the property at the time of loss to recover. Having interest at other times alone is insufficient. Reason A is not correct. This is incorrect because insurable interest at policy issuance alone does not satisfy the requirement for a valid property insurance claim. Reason B is not correct. The requirement focuses on the time of loss rather than the timing of claim submission. Reason C is not correct. This overstates the requirement. Property insurance only mandates insurable interest at loss, not also at inception. Question 8. Which definition most accurately describes the principle of indemnity in insurance? A. Limitation of coverage to the actual cash value of the insured property. B. Payment of a pre-agreed fixed amount, regardless of actual loss incurred. C. Settlement based on the replacement cost of new property without depreciation. D. Restoration of the insured to the same financial position after loss without gain or betterment. The correct answer is D. The principle of indemnity ensures the insured neither gains nor loses from a claim by restoring their financial position to pre-loss condition. Other definitions describe valuation methods or policy characteristics. Reason A is not correct. Actual cash value is a valuation method. Indemnity is the overarching principle preventing profit or betterment. Reason B is not correct. This describes a valued policy feature, not the indemnity principle which adjusts payment to actual loss. Reason C is not correct. Replacement cost settlement disregards depreciation, whereas indemnity prohibits betterment beyond actual loss. Question 9. In reviewing a property insurance application, the insurer discovers post-issuance that the applicant intentionally concealed a chronic flood history of the basement. Invoking the doctrine of utmost good faith, the insurer seeks to retroactively cancel a coverage from inception. Which remedy is insurer most likely to obtain in court? A. Suspension of coverage until corrected disclosures are made. B. Rescission of the policy ab initio. C. Reduction of the policy limits to reflect the true risk. D. Recovery of all premiums paid without voiding coverage. The correct answer is B. When an insured knowingly conceals material facts, the insurer may rescind the policy from inception under the doctrine of utmost good faith, effectively voiding the contract ab initio. Reason A is not correct. Suspension of coverage is not a recognized remedy under utmost good faith. The insurer must void the contract entirely. Reason C is not correct. Reducing policy limits does not address the fundamental breach of disclosure. Rescission voids the entire policy. Reason D is not correct. While premiums may be refunded following rescission, recovery of premiums alone without voiding coverage is not the primary remedy. Question 10. During a windstorm, high winds shatter a second-story window. Exposed interior is subsequently damaged by driving rain through the broken opening. The insurer pays for window replacement but denies interior damage on grounds of maintenance neglect. Under proximate cause doctrine, what is the correct basis for coverage? A. Neglect of maintenance is an intervening cause that breaks the chain of causation. B. Windstorm is the proximate cause, so attendant water damage is also covered. C. Rain infiltration constitutes a separate peril excluded by the policy. D. Concurrent causation doctrine applies due to multiple contributing factors. The correct answer is B. The windstorm was the direct initiating cause of both the window breakage and the subsequent water damage. So under proximate cause doctrine, the resulting interior damage is covered. Reason A is not correct. Maintenance neglect does not interrupt the causal chain when the storm directly caused the damage sequence. Reason C is not correct. Water damage is a natural result of the initial covered peril and is not a separate excluded peril without a specific exclusion. Reason D is not correct. Concurrent causation is not invoked when a single primary peril sets the entire loss sequence in motion. Question 11. A manufacturing firm and its attorney are litigating over an ambiguous machine breakdown exclusion in a commercial policy drafted solely by the insurer. The trial court finds the exclusion language unclear and must interpret the policy under contract of adhesion principles. How will the ambiguous exclusion be applied? A. Invalidated entirely, rendering the entire policy void. B. Construed against the drafter, extending coverage to the insured. A. C. Enforced as written because the insured could have negotiated terms. D. Rewritten by the court to reflect mutual intent of the parties. The correct answer is B. Under a contract of adhesion, any ambiguity in policy language is resolved against the drafting insurer, thereby interpreting the exclusion in favor of providing coverage to the insured. Reason A is not correct. Entire policy invalidation is not standard. Only ambiguous clauses are construed, not the whole contract. Reason C is not correct. Policies of adhesion are non-negotiable, so insured negotiation opportunity does not enforce an ambiguous clause. Reason D is not correct. Courts interpret ambiguous terms but do not rewrite clauses under adhesion principles. Rewriting exceeds interpretation. Question 12. Which of the following best describes a direct loss under property insurance? A. Physical damage to insured property that results directly from a covered peril. B. Loss of rental income due to damage at an adjacent location. C. Extra expenses incurred to maintain operations after a loss. D. Legal liability arising from third-party bodily injury. The correct answer is A. The correct answer defines direct loss as the physical damage to the insured property caused immediately by a covered peril. Reason B is not correct. Loss of rental income at an adjacent location represents an indirect or consequential loss rather than direct property damage. Reason C is not correct. Extra expenses to maintain operations are consequential costs, not direct loss to the property. Reason D is not correct. Legal liability for third-party injury is a liability exposure, not physical damage to the insured property. Question 13. Which of the following is an example of an indirect, consequential loss in property and casualty insurance? A. Cost to repair a fire-damaged roof. B. Temporary increases in living expenses following a covered fire. C. Structural foundation cracks caused by an earthquake. D. Medical expenses for bodily injuries sustained at the insured premises. The correct answer is B. The correct answer illustrates an indirect loss because it involves additional living expenses incurred as a consequence of the direct property damage. Reason A is not correct. Repairing a fire-damaged roof is direct physical damage, not an indirect expense. Reason C is not correct. Foundation cracks are direct damage resulting from a covered peril, not a consequential cost. Reason D is not correct. Medical expenses for injuries are a liability payment, unrelated to indirect property loss. Question 14. A manufacturing plant experiences direct fire damage on April 5th that forces the premises to suspend operations for repairs. Under time element coverage in a property policy, which event defines the start of the covered business interruption period? A. The date of the physical damage. B. The date when repairs are completed. C. The date the claim is filed. D. The date the premium was last paid. The correct answer is A. The time element coverage period begins on the date of the direct physical damage that results in the interruption of operations. The other dates are peripheral to the commencement of coverage. Reason B is not correct. This incorrectly suggests that coverage begins when repairs end, rather than when the interrupting event occurs. Reason C is not correct. The claim filing date does not trigger coverage. Reason D is not correct. Premium payment date is not relevant to coverage commencement. Question 15. After a flood forces a bakery to relocate production off-site, the owner rents a mobile kitchen at extra cost to maintain operations. Under extra expense coverage, which cost is eligible? A. Repair costs for flood-damaged ovens. B. Compensation for lost sales revenue. C. Rental fees for the temporary kitchen. D. Standard monthly utility bills for the original bakery. The correct answer is C. Extra expense coverage reimburses costs incurred to continue operations after a covered loss, such as renting temporary facilities. Reason A is not correct. Repair costs relate to property damage coverage, not extra expenses. Reason B is not correct. Lost sales fall under business income coverage, not extra expense. Reason D is not correct. Standard utilities are normal operating expenses, not additional costs. Question 16. A construction supervisor negligently fails to secure scaffolding, causing it to collapse and injure a worker. In a negligence lawsuit, which element refers to proving the supervisor's failure was directly linked to the worker's injury? A. Duty owed to the injured party. B. Strict liability. C. Contributory negligence. D. Proximate cause. The correct answer is D. Proximate cause requires showing that the negligent act directly resulted in the injury. Reason A is not correct. Duty involves the obligation owed, not the causal link to injury. Reason B is not correct. Strict liability imposes responsibility regardless of fault, not causation. Reason C is not correct. Contributory negligence addresses the plaintiff's conduct, not causation. Question 17. According to the NAIC model binder regulations, what is the minimum advance written notice required for an insurer to cancel a property and casualty binder due to non-payment of premium? A. At least 5 days. B. At least 30 days. C. At least 10 days. D. Immediate effect upon written notice. The correct answer is C. The correct answer is at least 10 days, because the NAIC model binder regulations mandate a minimum 10-day written notice for cancellation of a binder for non-payment of premium. Reason A is not correct. A 5-day notice is shorter than the model regulation requirement and is insufficient for cancellation due to non-payment. Reason B is not correct. A 30-day notice exceeds the minimum requirement for binder cancellation and applies more commonly to policy non-renewals, not initial binder terminations. Reason D is not correct. Immediate effect upon notice is not permitted by the model binder regulations, which require a specified advance period. Question 18. Under Standard N, AIC binder provisions for property and casualty insurance, in the absence of a formal policy or written extension, what is the maximum period a binder may remain in effect? A. 30 days. B. 60 days. C. 90 days. D. 120 days. The correct answer is C. The correct answer is 90 days, because NAIC model binder provisions specify that a binder automatically terminates 90 days after its effective date if no formal policy is issued or extension agreed upon. Reason A is not correct. A 30-day limit is too short. Binders commonly extend beyond 1 month under the model provisions. Reason B is not correct. A 60-day maximum understates the allowable binder term specified in the NAIC provisions. Reason D is not correct. A 120-day term exceeds the model regulation limit and is not permitted without a formal policy. Question 19. A shipping company's cargo-laden freighter runs aground during a severe storm and is declared a total loss. The insurer invokes the abandonment clause in the marine policy to assume ownership of the wreck and remaining cargo. Which maritime legal concept forms the historical basis of the abandonment clause in marine insurance? A. Salvage law granting insurers rights to abandoned property for loss mitigation. B. General average principle requiring shared contribution to salvage costs. C. Deviation doctrine permitting intentional course changes under necessity. D. Utmost good faith doctrine obligating surrender of vessel details. The correct answer is A. This option is correct because the abandonment clause originated from maritime salvage law, allowing insurers to take title to abandoned property and recover value through salvage proceedings. Reason B is not correct. General average allocates shared loss among cargo interests but does not confer title of abandoned property to insurers. Reason C is not correct. Deviation doctrine governs route changes and does not address insurer ownership of abandoned cargo. Reason D is not correct. Utmost good faith requires disclosure, but does not create a right for insurers to assume property title. Question 20. After a severe hailstorm, a homeowner notifies the insurer that they are abandoning the damaged roof and exterior siding under their property insurance policy. The insurer declines to take possession and instead settles the claim by paying the actual cash value less salvage value. Which abandonment principle explains this insurer's approach in property insurance? A. Duty to mitigate damages prevents insurer from assuming full ownership of damaged property. B. Actual cash value settlement less salvage reflects insurer's salvage rights after payment. C. Property policies do not recognize abandonment, so insurer must calculate a cash settlement. D. Subrogation rights are exercised instead of accepting property abandonment. The correct answer is B. This option is correct because under property insurance, the insurer does not accept abandonment, but exercises salvage rights, settling for actual cash value minus salvage proceeds. Reason A is not correct. Duty to mitigate addresses insured's conduct, but does not explain insurer's settlement method. Reason C is not correct. While abandonment isn't recognized, the key reason is the insurer's salvage right and settlement calculation. Reason D is not correct. Subrogation deals with third-party recovery, not the method of settling abandoned property claims. Enjoyed this practice test? Tap like, hit subscribe, and share it with a classmate. Got a question we should tweak? Comment below. We read them all. Find full practice exam books in the description or at ExamPrep.School.